Okay, this is a follow-up the very next day from the price action we saw when we're talking about order blocks not being the same. And I think we should um, discuss this because there were several trades here. There's also one around this area here, I think it was, that we can totally learn from that are just fantastic price action. Okay. So first of all, let's just remind ourselves of what happened, right? We saw some strong looking sell blocks, and then we saw some sort of weak looking buy blocks, but the buy blocks took out those strong looking sell blocks. And it's because it's a reversal of how your mind wants to think about things. When you see strength in the marketplace, you can't help yourself but to think that this is going to hold. It's as strong as it can get. But as you see this sort of softer approach over here, but with a different kind of eye set or mindset, a different kind of vision, you can start to see how this is actually the strength that can take out all of this. So if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to see it before watching this one. Let's talk about this trade here. It was almost to the tick. We got up here into this area and almost took it for 10R, right? And I was live in this trade, right? And I was watching it and saw price come up here and then started dumping off. And I was thinking to myself, that's annoying to say the least, right? But I've experienced this a lot of times, so it's nothing new on me. Let's just turn all that off. Wow. Okay. So as we saw this initiation up and the rejection away from my area, then I start to look at price action from this point all the way down. And what I see is the same kind of price action that we got over here, where the price action is rapidly aggressive buying with only one intention, selling with only one intention of taking liquidity. So I think we need to go on a 5 seconds to see it clearly, but we're seeing just solid sort of push-ups here, for example, that went over this range and a pull down. This one was sort of unclear. I kind of was thinking, is that a pull down there? And then the aggressive buying occurred from that point there. That's how I was sort of seeing this one, because this returned to 50%. But really, when you analyze it, there was no break of the low. Actually, there was a big pardon. Wait, let's have a look at this one. So we did have a range initiation. There's no break of structure. That's what I was seeing here. So this range hadn't sort of solidified any sort of liquidity, but it was, nevertheless, it did push up, pull down, and it was just sort of awkward. It wasn't the what I was expecting so far as this straight liquidity grab like this one was, right? So I was sort of questioning this, but we are on a micro time frame, so we want to sort of see more and more data to really get a good analysis. And as we saw from here, it literally just melted. No primaries were made, with the exception of this one and potentially this one, which are so low a time frame, it's just silly, right? And then they dropped down aggressively into this area of potential buying. And again, no primary ranges. So as I'm looking at it, say on a 1 minute, I'm thinking to myself, well, it's weak, isn't it? Because if we're going to sell, we're going to create something up here is going to tell us we're selling off at this high. We're going to start seeing selling activity. And that's not what we saw. We just saw a flop. It just belly flopped, into a pond. And it was odd and uncomfortable. It was just one of those ones where you belly flop into a pool of water and you just spread your arms and legs out and slap the water, and it's like, poof, it just hurts, And that's the kind of thing I was sort of witnessing over here. It's just like, it just looked awkward. There was nothing fluid about it. It wasn't what we were looking for to have happen. The other part about this is it hadn't hit our zone. Remember, I had this zone up here, and I'd said in the video, I am willing to say that all of this is cause, but I'm not 100% about this. this looks solid to me because it had that one push up where it took liquidity, but then it had this little ending to it, which was like, why did we do that ending? And you can go back on that video to see that why not why, but what that was all about. Okay, so I was always sort of looking at this range, thinking this is a very interesting range. I also believe this is HLL, like it's in line with this would be a good place to sell from. And so when my 10R trade idea had its stop, had its take profit right before that zone, I was very happy to take this trade all day long because I was thinking to myself, this is likely to come up to that point. Okay. And as you saw, it stopped right before it. What was it doing? Building cause. We now know the answer. It was building cause. And in the moment, I was thinking it's building cause. And I even drew this as it was sliding down. I was like, there's no selling. There's no selling structure that's kicked in. So what did happen though is we started making some buying structure. And I think here it is. I wrote buying structure because I saw, first of all, this sort of unwillingness to take liquidity and then the willingness to take liquidity. And I thought to myself, well, this is a lovely order block that we've just put in here. Let's see how we react to it. Can we create some sort of buying strength? And there was really no liquidity to take from. The way it pushed up here, there was no other liquidity other than that low. So it wasn't really a viable buy until we got this second push down, which was from this high to this low. Again, they didn't take liquidity. They didn't take liquidity. One more, and then boom, this one right here did the damage. Okay, so I was very interested in buying from this location. Everything about it looked pretty good. It was in a buy sort of range, in an area where we thought this could really be an area where we could bounce from. That's what I was thinking. And so I'm looking to see how we now interact with the range that did the damage. Okay, so as we've initiated away, we'll break structure. And as we initiate away, I'm looking at how do we come back into this range, and how do we interact with it. And I'm drawing it from this high to this low at that point because I'm thinking to myself, it was the last range that did the damage. There was a little pullback here, but it's so low a time frame that this is the range. So as we look now and see what happens, we're not interested until price has come in to here, right? And starts interacting. So now we could start drawing on our drawing. So we could say this was a buy range, this was a buy range, and then this one was another buy range that, perfectly aligning with buying. Absolutely perfect. And then we want to see this interact within this area and then initiate higher price, right? Quite aggressively is what we're looking for. We're looking for something to sort of tell us signs in which to say we're going up. And you could have just taken a limit here, 2.5 pips, maybe 2 pips stop, taken a limit and gone for it, but you would have gotten spanked out. The reason I believe this one was never a trade that was going to take on is because of the break-in structure right here. It was wick only. It was very soft. And if you look at other examples where we've come out of a range and then broken structure, it is usually aggressive out of it. So the key here was this break-in structure. Yes, it broke structure with wick, and I do take breaks of structure with wick. My analysis is, and as I've come to understand the marketplace, is even if we just touch the highs, I take that as a structural break. But with this sort of added weakness, it was a symbol, a sign, an omen. It was something telling us this isn't where we're going to be likely to be buying from. So let's say we did take that and took an L, right? No big deal. And so as we come back in, now we interact with this lower range. You could actually be thinking, well, this is what they're actually now going to be doing. And so as we go putting a thing here, we go, well, that was a buy range. There was no liquidity. And then this was the range that actually came over something and did damage. We always want to be seeing damage and then initiating up and away, right? Where would we then put our entries? Well, you could try to go over the top of this one if you wanted to, or wait until sort of more structure. I'm not sure if this one even gets over it. It does slightly, but again, you're just getting spanked again. Same thing. You're getting tapped in by wick only, and then you get broken down on the low side. So again, do your own research. But if you could have seen that the breaking structure wasn't all that strong, that could have helped you in this situation. The other point about this is, what did you mitigate? And I haven't even really done any analysis on this, but yes, it's a primary, but I bet it's not HLL. I bet it's not like the strong sort of structure I'm looking for. And so for that reason, these trades wouldn't have been good just based on this bottom mitigational point. What did it mitigate, right? Plus the break of structure was weak. So you got two things there sort of telling you to sort of stay out. But let's say you did take those trades. It's all okay, right? Everything's fine. Because we're SMC traders. You can call yourself whatever the heck you want. We're traders that take 2R down, nothing, no big deal. 3, 4, 5R down, no big deal, because you're going to spank in with a couple of 10Rs and you're done, right? Yeah, and you're really in a good position. Then we get down to remember, this is where we launched from. We're launching from, and then we get sort of into that range. Now we're really into some meat and potatoes here, and this would have been the absolute nuts of the buying opportunity, because this is HLL. It's the last known range, and so this is exactly where you'd be wanting to interact with if we are going to be buying from, right? So now let's observe price. Now let's observe what price does as it enters this more powerful zone, and we'll show you how you can get an entry. Now, I didn't take this entry, I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping at that point, but I wasn't actively trading. Okay. So first thing is, I'm going to delete this to make it, because it looks complicated. So let's just see the point of mitigation first of all. We're never going to trade on the point of mitigation. Personally, I'm not trying to catch a low. I'm never trying to catch a low. I'm just trying to catch continuation after an event, because this is hard. This is really hard to catch these lows. This is something where I feel like you'll be taking a lot more losses from. This is something where you're risk entering something like this, 3 pip stop, boom, right? That's the kind of thing you're doing. You're just basing it on, well, that's the last known order block. It should react. I'm not trying to trade like that. I'm trying to trade like this, which I can get a smaller stop involved, and I just prefer it. I prefer to see confirmation. I do not want to just go risk entry. So as we've come in, and I think on a 1 minute it might help us see this. As we come in, we've had the mitigation. Now we don't know it at that time, but we've had the mitigation, and we'll just annotate it as text HLL on the bottom, right? We'll just say it's HLL, good mitigation, and then we want to see what happened next. Now, remember what I've said. I want to see that last leg take the liquidity. And this is why I'm doing this video right now, is because this is going to help my understanding as well as your own. I said that in the last video, that I want to see that last leg take the liquidity. Let's look at the legs that were available for liquidity over here. So let's draw them out. We've got, as we step in, we've got, this is liquidity, this is liquidity, this is liquidity, there's one down here that never interacts, and there was one up here that's not an interaction as well. So we've got these zones drawn on, 1, 2, and 3. This is where the liquidity stack is. So as we pull down A to B, nothing's taken. First leg, nothing's taken. And actually, we can draw it from here, but I'm going to use that as my breaker structure. But we can draw it from here as well. So buy range, first of all, takes literally nothing, right? Again, what are they doing if they're not taking liquidity? Then they're giving themselves better pricing, right? That's how I'm understanding it. So we're giving ourselves better pricing as we come down. Again, this range here doesn't take anything. This range here does take something because it hits the low. You could consider this a primary range. But because this range kicked in, this one did all the damage, right? So that's the reason I've kept that as a lighter colored blue. From this point here to this point here, took this liquidity, it took this liquidity, and it took this liquidity. This is the range that did all the damage. Then it initiates higher pricing, okay? So we've got a range that did all the damage. Then we've got it, they initiated over that range. And so we could have been thinking this was the one, but it hasn't interacted with our zone. Remember that the zone of interest. So as we've come down, done that, this has taken liquidity, so we draw it differently. Comes down again, no liquidity, and initiates away. So you'd be thinking, well, it didn't take the liquidity in the last leg, so I'm not really interested in trading this one. But this is why the market is infinitesimally beautiful. It's absolutely incredible in how it operates. So this is a buy primary. It took liquidity. Draw this leg out. Just draw this leg out, and let's just observe together what happens. Just for a little bit of price action. Notice how this leg here, the one that did the damage, the A to B movement that did all that damage, holds price beautifully. Why is that? Ask yourself that. Why would that be? This isn't by accident. This was the A to B movement that did all the damage, and then it held price. Very interesting. So as we pull this across, this is now the leg that we want to see interacted with, right? Just like we were talking about before on the buys over here, the leg that we want to see interacted with is the one that does the damage. So this was, where is it? This last leg here did the damage, so we want to see the interaction with that, which is where we're going to get our entry. And that's exactly what happened. We interacted with that last leg that took out the liquidity. Boom, we're in, right? As long as it interacts with that and does what we want it to do, which is initiate higher prices out of that way, out of that zone. So price has come in to form this new, so we've got this new range here. We've got this power range in here. We'll call this a power ranger. Okay, right there is our power ranger. That's actually quite funny. I'm gonna keep that one, I think. Power ranger right there. And then initiates higher prices, breaking structure, and look at the weakness of the break here. Wick again, right? So are we interested in taking this? You might be thinking, not really. But do you remember how I had this drawn before? I had this drew from, I believe this range, was it here? Thinking that actually this is the order block, and then we could take the break from up here. So as we've got an order block that's formed way below that break of structure, it kind of makes this a little stronger in my eyes. You could also take this as the break of structure, in which makes the break even stronger still, right? And so, and you didn't even have to catch this trade in here. You didn't even have to catch it. There's so many additional opportunities over in this area. Just seeing this happen alone, one interaction, another, just seeing it hold could have been enough to get you involved in the market. But nevertheless, we've got this amazing ending, break of structure, and we initiate higher prices. What are we looking for now? Well, we want to interact with the one that did the damage. So here it is, and as we interact, did this take liquidity? Not really. Tiny little bit of 5 second, 15 second stuff here. Again here, you could honestly argue the fact it did, but it didn't interact with what we were looking for. This did the damage, took liquidity from below this range here, right, and interacted with what we were looking for, and then initiated higher prices. So this is the kind of trade I'd be looking for right here, something like along those lines, keeping my stop below this low. Okay, and what ends up happening? It does hold, but it does hold. And again, we can see this range is the one that's sort of holding that price, because it was always going to be the low as well. So although it doesn't really look like it, it actually does become the low. Oh my goodness, does become the low, but it becomes the low only after the break of structure. So this gets carried out and over into this area, but only after that break of structure does this become the low. Very weird kind of way of saying it, but and very not sort of how we're used to seeing things. But that is the truth of the matter, or in this instance at least. So let's continue price, because this is just too good to be true, right? It was just too good to be true. The trading analysis, the fact I caught it on video as well, it was just really a good situation. So where would we be going on this one? We definitely wouldn't be going up here. We would be looking to be trading right to the low of this one. All right, because we're not sure about this. We're not sure if we're actually shorting from here or going long. We're positioned real well for longs, but we're not confident in the fact that we can get up and over this range since it was such a power ranger. It's a power ranger again. So as we get up and we're climbing up, let's let it just climb out. What are we going to be looking for up and around this area? As we get up here into this area right now, what are we looking for? We're looking for this kind of stuff to repeat up here, but in reverse, right? In reverse. We want them to sort of flip flop. So we want to be seeing, instead of aggressive liquidity grabs, we want to be seeing weak liquidity grab with an addition of some primary and some weaker, so to speak, giving ourselves better pricing. That's the best way I can think of explaining this. So before we delve into like the trade opportunity here, we got this bit of liquidity drawn out here as a dotted line. Let's have a look at it. Got dotted line. This is an inside bar on a 1 minute. There's liquidity right there. Here's that sort of not power ranger. This was like offering them better prices. This was always looking like a really good location. Also, they had a massive stack from up here. So this was really looking like a really nice range to play off of. And what happens is, on a 15 seconds, let's see the point of mitigation. This is the point of mitigation. And I'm pretty confident that this would be HLL. Can't read that. Let's put it on top. And this video isn't about analyzing HLLs and HLs. We can go back on my Get Ready With Me video if you want to learn about HL and HLL. That explains it in detail. I will do more videos on this because it's very, very important to know what we've mitigated. But for right now, this video is about order blocks and how order blocks are constructed differently in different areas. And so now we're looking for this softer sort of activity up here. And also, what we're going to expect is every time that we had a pull down, these pullbacks should have taken liquidity, right? On a higher time frame and on a lower time frame. Why? Because that's going to be building cause. Remember, as they pulled back aggressively, taking that liquidity, yes, that is a good place to trade sort of going long, but it's also cause for the future. And it's such it goes opposite against your mind because you think of it as strength. Here's some strength. So we're going long for a long time. That's the mentality. What's actually happening is it's moving liquidity cause into a certain area specifically for whatever their reasoning is. So point of mitigation. So here we go. So we come up from this low. This is the order block that gets created. Okay. Comes up from this low, starts coming up, boom, took a little bit of liquidity. There's range initiation, break structure. So that's liquidity. This took liquidity from the high here, range initiation, break structure. Okay, then weakness starts showing in. Then, so what could weakness also mean? It could also mean a pausing in price action. So we could be saying that this is the order block that we're looking to play off of, right? So that was one hint. And now they didn't hang around here very long. So you've got to be on the pulse here. You've got to be looking at this range going, I'm very keen on this range. Let me just see. Am I seeing selling activity? First wave, boom, takes all that liquidity, right? So this is now our power ranger. Okay. Second range takes nothing. Third range breaks the low and takes nothing again. This is actually, in my eyes, an initiation. Takes liquidity from the high point, liquidate its spot, right? Based on internal liquidity only. So that's an internal liquidity initiation out of this range. So it's another like weighted element to it, but that's for a whole nother thing. Suffice it to say, power ranger, weak range, weak range. Point of mitigation. What are we looking for? Break the range. We need to break the range in order for us to confirm our suspicions could be correct. Boom. Let me pause. Let's go back. Right? So we've broken the range right here, which means you could remember I take it as a break structure right there. but you take it however you want. Here has been good too. Here would have been the best place because I didn't, in here, this range here, we didn't actually get any kind of sell opportunity in here anyway. You could have maybe have said this was over here was liquidity. So, a very micro time frame, you could have gotten an entry, but so hard to sort of spot that one. This one's much easier to spot. So I'm on a 15 seconds. What happened in this range? Number one, we've broken structure. So now we've got this Power Ranger here. So we're looking for an interaction with the Power Ranger. It's huge, and price could be aggressive from this location based on what we've seen today. It built this cause from absolutely nowhere. So, and it was fast and furious, right? And also this push up here was strong and aggressive. So we could be having a strong and aggressive reaction as well. It could be whipsawing around. So that's the first thought. So we've got Power Ranger. We need to interact with that Power Ranger. First thing we do is in order to us to get into the market, we need to be taking liquidity. Where's liquidity? Range, initiation, break of structure. Okay? So this one's a clean range that we can see, that we can spot, and that we can say there is cause stacked here. Boom, right there. Okay? We're interacting with our Power Ranger. Second part, done, right? So we've seen selling activity. The range is confirmed. It's not just all taken liquidity. It's not a liquidity grabbing range. It's a range that gave themselves better pricing. So we like that about it. We know that it's interacted in HLL zone, or we think it is in this instance, but I'm pretty confident it was. And we've now moved out of the way. We've confirmed price action by breaking structure, and now we're coming back in to basically confirm everything by getting our last position before we actually move away from price or from the zone. First range, A to B, absolutely nothing. There is no liquidity over the top of here. There was no other break of structure, right? So, and it didn't even get over the top of it, okay? Didn't even get, it matched the inside bar. That's all we got, okay? Which is a break of structure, but there was no liquidity. It literally just happened. So weak. But beautiful, because we can then, because that's a pause in price, right? Inside bars, pause in price. So now we had a weak range, and now we have the strong range. The strong range has interacted with our Power Ranger. The strong range has taken liquidity. It's matched everything we could possibly want it to match. The last thing we'd want it to do is just to break structure. So how are we going to do that? Boom. There's a 2 pip stop entry for you. If you break this low, this is sell stop. We don't go sell limit. We go sell stop. Why? This is why. You'll never see price up here again. It doesn't always happen, but when they're moving price away from you. They're not going to give you an opportunity to keep getting in. They can do, and they sometimes do, but in this instance, they didn't want to. And so here we are again, interacts with the Power Ranger, like we just said, weak range, which was giving themselves better pricing, and then they took the liquidity. A telltale sign that we're going short from here. We don't need these strong moves up, liquidity grab, boom, and gone. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for them to position themselves the best way that they can. And so, we don't even need to watch it play out. We know the end story here is it just melted off very aggressively. I think there's a strong news element, probably 5:30. Was it 5:30? Yeah, 5:30 a.m. They always come out then. They're specific timing. And now we're pulling back up. So we now need to analyze the market. Is this something? This is the range that we'd be looking to hold from, isn't it? And so as we're coming up to here, we have to analyze: are we sharply taking liquidity? Before we do that, and actually I'm not going to do that on video because it's getting too long, but I did want to just look at this. So as we've pulled up, something I was saying is, as we pulled up here, these sharp drops, on the pullback, all of these pullbacks should, in my opinion, be the inverse of these moments. This moment here is a buying moment. This moment here is a selling moment. And so as we're actually moving up to get to that point, what we should have, in my opinion, are basically strong by primaries form, liquidity grabbing moments. So let's just start from, we could say from down here, but this isn't really. I'd like to start it from like the moment we sort of break out of this trading range and this trading sort of idea here. So the first thing I'm looking for would be here, and we could, and this is where it's going to get very subjective, because you can say this was weak, right? But look what happened. They used it as strength. So remember, it's all the pull downs that we're looking for. Range here. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to just do this quickly. Range, initiation, liquidity grab. I'm going to draw them in like strongly. This one here to here took the liquidity from the low. This one from this high down to this point here took the liquidity from down here. New range created took the liquidity from here and here. Pulls up, breaks of structure from here to here, liquidity grab. Let's see here. Nothing here, so this is a weakness, bit of weakness. Unless on a lower time frame. We're on a 1 minute only. Same thing here, this pullback, absolutely nothing, weakness. If we did want to just see, I'm kind of feeling that these ones would have had some kind of strength. Very weak actually. So this isn't showing me exactly what I was thinking, but let's keep looking anyway. Oh, beg your pardon. As you see, these are pulling up. These are prices pulling up. It's when we're pulling down is what we want to look at. So from here to here, inside bar, break of structure, took liquidity. This point to this point, don't even need to talk about it, took liquidity. Another strong pullback over here, took liquidity maybe from this range here, but didn't really have a break of structure, so we'll say that's weakness. Or you could just say it was a continuation point from that point to that point. Let's see, any others? Equal lows. Went over liquidity here. Did you see that? Liquidity here. This bar comes over the liquidity. Again, they come back over the median, over the 50%, and then back in. This should have been another liquidity grab. And so on this one, it's a little bit trickier. Probably internal liquidity, range, break structure, stacked. Stacked cause. I would have liked to have seen that one been a liquidity grab as well. I'm actually going to draw this one as not, because there's no point tricking ourselves or trying to convince ourselves of the opposite. And then we kind of get up into this area, right? So let's see. Pause. I mean, this one could be here. Range, initiation, break a structure over here. Boom, comes in for liquidity grab. Same thing, range, initiation, break a structure. Boom, comes in for the liquidity grab. There's liquidity built under here as well. So boom, liquidity grab. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a break of structure somewhere over here on the left-hand side. So right where my mouse is, the dotted line, boom, break of structure here, which then they come over the top of it, creating a primary range, right? Boom. That's another liquidity grab. So we are seeing lots of elements of liquidity grabbing going on. Liquidity grab event, liquidity grab event, liquidity grab event, liquidity grab event, and this is how we can get long. You can get long in the market on these ones right here. The thing is though, you got to realize they are going to become cores fairly soon. In this instance, especially because we're coming up for massive sells. So then, right? Let's just assume that we were happy enough to say that yes, this was all liquidity causing. This is the trickiest one right here. More analysis maybe is needed on this one, but I feel like let's actually have another look at it. Did I miss something? Because more often than not, we're missing something. No, definitely. I mean, it would be. It's just internal liquidity. You've just got this range and this break of structure, which I really just don't like. I would have loved to have seen more of a liquidity grab. Let's just have a look on 15 seconds, probably the lowest I'd go. It was just nothing. Inside bar, did it match the inside bar? Yeah. So it matched the inside bar, which would be considered a liquidity draw, but it's very weak, but it's subjective. This one would be very subjective. Again, though, we are seeing what we want to see. We're seeing that as we pull down, it's done for a purpose of liquidity grabbing. So that is where I'm going to conclude the video. We're not going to look into the current price action. We're not going to look at like trying to grab a trade right now. We're just looking at all of this and understanding that based on just this one trade idea that I came up with this morning, that was just from all of this, it actually played out so well to our analysis, and just so you can really start to get a grasp an idea of how specific the market is. These levels are all of these highs, everything it does, these highs, this draw, this is all premeditated. This is all premeditated. This is all thought about before it even gets put in. This is not randomized. Oh, a hedge fund has just sold here, so prices flopped. Oh, now a hedge fund bought here, or Merrill Lynch, or Bank of America. No, 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 no. This is all algorithmic delivery system, and it's all designed just to get you in and out of the market space. Everything is inversed as well. So that's why when we see what we think to be strength in the marketplace is about to become liquidity. And so it's about spotting the inverse of that, as well as just aligning yourself with good analysis. You need to see the good analysis. You need to know order blocks, primary ranges. I'm going to do another video soon on things that we know about the market, and we're going to talk about each element: primary ranges, initiation ranges, mitigations, types of mitigations, and then order blocks and how they're built. And so I'm going to do a video on all of that because I think it's beneficial to everybody to start seeing this and to start understanding it. Aloha to anyone out there watching. Peace out. Have a great day. Hope there's some value here for you. Yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.